Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the CBC Human Library Live Online. I'm Lauren O'Neill, and right now we are in the broadcast center of the CBC Toronto location. If you happen to be in one of the 15 cities hosting live library events today across Canada, you can go and visit them. We have full details for that on our website at cbc.ca/humanlibrary. But today, the Digital Human Library is bringing together a number of prominent Canadians and giving you a chance to speak with them from anywhere in the world, right from your computer via webcam or chat. You can join in right now via webcam by clicking on the camera button below, or you can join the Cover It Live chat underneath this video box. Right now, we've got Grace Park joining us from Vancouver. I'm just going to bring her up right here. Oh, here we go. Put her on screen. Make sure I can see her here. There we go. Grace!
Hi.
Hello, hi. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Now, for those of you who don't know Grace, I'm sure a lot of you do, are fans of hers who are here. Grace is a Vancouver-raised actor, best known for her death-defying roles on television dramas like Battlestar Galactica and Hawaii Five-0. She's also had roles in The Cleaner, Edgemont, and CBC TV series The Border. She's played everything from a teenage lesbian Christian, a strong-willed humanoid Cylon, and a rookie cop who holds her own in a mostly male game. Her role in the cult hit Battlestar Galactica established her as a strong female icon in the male-dominated world of sci-fi and geek culture. Park was born in LA but moved to Vancouver when she was almost 2 years old. She went to University of British Columbia where she earned a psychology degree and is of Korean descent. Grace Park joins us now. Grace, how are you doing today?
Really good. Really good. Thank you. It's good to be in Vancouver.
Yeah. You know what? We are going to jump right into the questions right now. We've had tons of questions come through here over the past couple of days. So our first one here is from Daryl Brassard. He asked this through Facebook. He wants to know, I first noticed her on Stargate SG-1, and then she was a main character on Battlestar Galactica, and now a main role in Hawaii Five-0. I wonder if she misses sci-fi shows. So now that you're on Hawaii Five-0, do you miss doing sci-fi?
You know, I didn't even realize I was doing a lot of sci-fi, and I think part of that is because I live in Vancouver, and there's a lot of sci-fi that's shot here. And I didn't even realize that I had a string of them, kind of one after another. But I would say I don't necessarily miss sci-fi, but it was really strange when I went from the world of Battlestar, but there's no brand names, no product placement, none of that. And then I jumped onto the Cleaner, and all of a sudden there were people walking around, and we were calling, rolling in action. And I was like, whoa, 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 don't we have to clear out all those people? And it took me a while to realize they were background, they were for the shot, because they just look like regular, ordinary citizens, which is what you want. But I don't think I necessarily miss sci-fi, and even so, Battlestar was like not your typical in the world of sci-fi. It's not the most typical sci-fi show.
All right, we have a question now all the way from France coming to you from Siham. Hi, Grace. And that's a little heart for those of you who can't see it. You're so beautiful and talented. You have many fans in France. My question is, with who takes you more fun on the set of Hawaii Five-0? I'm not really sure what Tim means by that. With who takes you more fun? Who do you have more fun with? Maybe who do you have the most fun with on the set of Hawaii Five-0? I think that's...
Oh. Probably, well, everyone's a lot of fun. I mean, Scott has a great sense of humor. Alex is very good at storytelling as well. But I really like William Lee, and he plays Sang Min. He's only in, a few episodes here and there. He plays like kind of like a Chinese ex-con with like a mullet. And he's actually Korean, and he like busts out like the old man Korean accent, and always throws me off all the time. So he's a really solid guy. And of course Daniel's, he can be pretty silly in the morning. When we're in our hair and makeup trailer, he likes to read, there's like a super quiz of the day every day, and they're usually kind of ridiculous, but we do it, and then he reads the horoscopes. And so, it's like people always, we're there. I mean, on a busy week, it's like 70 hours a week or 10 months of the year, so you got to make the time pass.
Oh, yeah? You probably become like family after so much time.
Oh, yeah. With the good and the bad.
You mentioned that he busts out a Korean accent. We actually have a question here from someone through Ranker, which is where people submit questions and then vote them up and down. This rose to the top. How connected do you feel to your Korean heritage?
Um, I was born in the States and grew up in Vancouver, and even so, I think that one of the guys in my elementary school, in like high school, we saw him at a reunion. He always says how there was like 3 Asian people in our class, like growing up. So to me, I very much I know that I'm Korean, but for instance, if I grew up in LA, it would be a lot stronger. And in LA, sometimes a younger Korean guy, because in Korea, you would call an older sister if you're a boy, and you call an older like girl that you are close to, or your actual sister, you would call her Nuna. And so sometimes they call me Nuna, and it totally throws me off. I'm like, dude, we're not in Korea. Just call me Grace. It's kind of weird. So I'm not like Korean, but I love Korean food, and I do want to go there and live there maybe for a year or two, and obviously pick up the language and the culture and all that. So I do consider myself Korean, but I'm kind of a Twinkie. Um, yeah, that's like yellow on the outside, white on the inside.
Do you think that
Just kind of how I grew up.
yeah, do you think that your appearance, I mean, your being Korean, ever kind of affected the way that you were chosen for roles?
Well, I'm sure it has because it's a visual medium. You can't really get away from that. However, I do feel that almost all the roles that I got, save maybe one or two, were because of the fact that I was Asian. I think I did, like, I remember doing an audition, and it was good. They're like, great, great, that's great. Can you do that with an accent? And
Oh,
I
really?
looked back at them thinking, accent? Like, what kind of accent? Like a British accent? I'm so out of it. I'm terrible with accents, so I can't do the Chinese accents, Korean accent. I can't even imitate my parents for some reason. I think, like, if you look at the characters I played, like Edgemont was not slated for any ethnicity, which was actually a CBC show. And then when I did Battlestar, it was Sharon Valeri. I mean, if anything, it sounds a little Italian or something. I don't know. I don't know. I think they just made that up. And pretty much most of the characters I played, maybe Hawaii Five-O, they wanted a local girl, so they wanted some of that flavor, like either Asian, maybe a little Polynesian, and whatnot. So that did help, but I don't think necessarily that's like a big strong thing. I think partly it's because of being in Vancouver. It seems like the casting is a little more colorblind to me.
We've got a
Hmm.
question here actually now from Ronnie, who is the founder of the Human Library Project. So we were thrilled to have Ronnie popping in at the chat all day. And Ronnie would like to know, hey Grace, great to see you here on the Human Library Online. Wanted to ask you a bit about stereotypes about actors and perhaps beautiful actresses. What are some of the stereotypes that you've met in your career as you've grown more popular and more famous? I think that's a really good question because I know that, very beautiful actresses, as much as it's a blessing, sometimes you might be only cast for certain roles. How would you answer that? What kind of stereotypes?
Well, I think for one of the things is that's a good question. I mean, it would also depend on how you want to be perceived, and if you feel, I think some people may have the need to feel they always have to look attractive or beautiful, and I think as women, I think that's kind of a general. I'm just going to make a general statement. Like, I think women like to be attractive, but at the same time, I like stuff being really gritty as well. So that's why I really welcome Battlestar, and there was tons of blood and dirt and sweat. And I think for the screen test, when we first got there, the producing director walked in, and we were in the makeup chairs getting ready, and he was like, no makeup, and then he walked out. We're like, oh, nothing? Like, not even natural makeup? Like, looking like no makeup? Of course, we ended up getting a little bit, but, we wasn't supposed to look like that. But I think more than, I feel like I haven't run into that many stereotypes. I mean, I think I remember vaguely one time encountering someone that seemed to have a lot of beef with me for, like, no reason that I could tell.
Hmm.
And then I sort of thought, I wouldn't wonder what that was. But I mean, then I think I'm pretty normal, and so that's why it's kind of weird. Like, I grew up really gangly and skinny, and like, I wasn't like blonde, or I don't know. I didn't have a name ending with like Y, like Stephanie or Jenny or something. It was just, I didn't consider myself pretty or any of that stuff. So I think that's my concept growing up, and then so that kind of changes probably how I act and whatnot. But I found actually more things about actors, and it's weird because I don't encounter so much of it in Vancouver because I feel like here I almost never talk about work unless we're specifically talking about work. But down in the state, like when I was doing a show in LA, I found there was so much animosity towards me as an actor in this one show in particular. And it was kind of odd because I think that it almost seemed like there was this huge grudge towards me. Like there was a guest, not like there was like a day player doing hair, and she would burn me she'd burn my scalp every single time I sat in her chair.
And just for being an
And
actor,
it took
do you think that that's why she was
I
prejudiced?
don't know. She was not happy. She was not a happy person. She wanted to take something out on me. I don't know what happened to her in her life. I didn't get into it, but for whatever reason, she decided to think like, you little, I don't know what.
Right.
And so people are going to put that on you. And I think, yeah, as I've maybe grown in popularity a little, or like there's more exposure because of the show that I'm on, people have assumptions. And I went to my high school reunion recently,
Oh.
and and this is someone who I think I went to school since grade 2. We obviously don't know each other very well because he's like, what do you do for the fame? Why else would you do it? And I was like, well, do you want to know? And I
Yeah.
started telling him, and he was like, this is really serious. I'm like, well, yeah, yeah, it's like I'm like the last person in the world. Like fame is a bad four-letter F word to me.
Mm.
Um, I mean, I haven't gotten my head around it yet. I can't stand like that word and celebrity and star. Like those things, I think just come with so much baggage and all these kind of ideas of because it's just gotten very messy lately. And so there's a lot of ideas with, oh, you must want this, or you must want the attention, or you must be rich, or you must be conceited, or you owe me whatever, a photo, you owe me, like, you got to be nice to me because I'm a regular person. Oh, I watch a show all the time, I'm a fan. So there's like, you get all of a sudden, there can be a lot of animosity out of nowhere. Like starting work in Hawaii was the first time that I got a lot of negativity towards me. Not every day, but certainly like, really nasty notes on my car or, just the strange stuff,
That's you know,
people
and
that like I've never met before.
I think it seems like a lot of people feel like celebrities or famous people they see owe them something now because we are given so much of their lives in the press in certain areas, especially like you say down in LA. How do you feel when people come and approach you in person with accolades? You know, somebody sees you on the street and they're excited. I know you have a lot of we've seen even in the last couple of days since we've been promoting this. You've got tons of fanboys and they just kind of love you. Is it weird for you when people come up and they want to meet you with the positive energy? Is that still kind of awkward or?
I felt like it didn't really used to be awkward, and I got really awkward on this last show on Hawaii Five-0. And but it really, I think, depends on how people approach me, and it's perhaps because I'm not that comfortable yet. I don't know how long it's going to take for me to get comfortable. I don't know if I ever will. I always thought if I get to a certain point where people recognize me too much, I'm going to have to quit. And that's like a very serious thing for me. And I think the difference between television and films is that when you go to films, you're paying money and you're watching on a ginormous screen way bigger than you. You're very well aware of the fact this is a movie. This is a cinematic experience. They're
Mhm.
not in your living room. You don't see them every Monday night. They're not hanging out with you. It's not predictable. So the difference is that people come up really quick. A lot of people, like I found for some reason on this show, I don't know if it's network or in Hawaii, it's very kind of like family community oriented. So I don't know, and they're just very friendly there, much more than, let's say, Canadians. Canadians are more polite, I would say. So I think here it would be more like, oh, excuse me, Ms. Park, I appreciate your work, something like that. There it's like, it's just a lot more like, hey, can I get a photo? Or like someone just comes and just touches me or like, I don't know, rubs my back or something kind of strange. And it's kind of like, whoa, whoa, hello, I don't know you. And I think there's very little awareness of that. Like if I say, like, can you not? Like they kind of look at me like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Like, aren't we
So
friends?
that's kind of perplexing to me.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Oh, it's like they're
Say
like
that again?
your friends. Like, aren't we friends? I see you all the time on TV. I think that they.
Yeah, and so kind of weird. That part's a little, like, it was pretty disconcerting for me. And I think because the show hit really big, CBS was promoting it a lot, and there was a lot of billboards. So
Mm.
I went from anonymity, and we worked for a few months in Hawaii, to all of a sudden people screaming at you and yelling, in a quiet place or in a public place. Like, I'm very quiet, private, more like I'm more silly and goofy, but I'm not like, yo, hey, look at me. Yeah, it's all about me and my perfume, and this is my life, and this is my Twitter feed. Look me up and follow my Instagram. That's not me,
So we're not
and
going to
so,
see like a reality television show of your own in your house anytime
no, that you will. I figure I've gone this far. I might as well get some money for it now.
soon. Very nice. So we got a question here now from I guess this is from Paris. Nadia has been waiting, she says, all day to ask you this question. She's a big fan. So,
Oh.
hello, Grace. Would you like to change your character, and if so, in which direction? I believe she's referring to your character on Hawaii Five-O.
Um, I would, and the thing is, I actually would like to change the show. Let's say I would like to be a little more character-based versus crime-based. But that's something that I think a lot of actors have. It's like when we got the pilot, which is the very first script, it read more filmic, and it seemed like it held the promise of more character. And coming from the world of Battlestar or like much more character-driven shows, to all of a sudden go to like, this is the crime, and HPD is looking them up, and I'll go do facial recognition. It's like all of a sudden it's like, whoa, I didn't know this was what was going to happen. So I would actually love to just do more character in general. And so that way, I'm not a writer, so I don't necessarily want to dictate or try to or say which way the character is going to go. But I would just love to do more character work. It doesn't even have to be my character. It can just be a scene where it's. And the interesting thing is, every time we have an episode with more character, those are the ones that end up being really, really popular with the network, and they're like, oh, they loved it, and they're going to release it to the press, and we're like, well, maybe they'll do more character work, but it's a procedural show, and I didn't know that going in, but I'm very well aware of it now.
All right, we've got a comment now from Amelia. She has said, you said that you feel really Canadian. Do you find that people expect you to be exotic somehow? If so, how does that bother you?
Exotic meaning exotic because I'm not American, you think, or exotic like because I don't look like?
I'm not really sure.
Mm.
I think Amelia is below in our cover at live chat. Is that correct? Is that we can ask her for clarification? But I'm thinking she means maybe that exotic as then you're not American, you're not typical sort of New York or LA, you're Canadian, and we see
Oh.
often Canadian characters portrayed in shows. Like I'm not sure if you watch How I Met Your Mother, Robin in that show Sparkles. She's always like oh Canadian, eh? Like when they bring up her Canadian side, and you've seen it in other films too, So do you think that people expect you to be exotic when you tell them that you're from Canada, kind of that you're strange
No,
Canadian?
I don't feel that at all. I don't feel if anything, you hear the requisite like A's and stuff like that. And one of our first assistant directors on Hawaii Five-O is Canadian, and so he'll bust out the accent once in a while, or he'll like say something like he'll order something like he pretends to order breakfast like they did in Quebec, I guess, where he was there for a bit. Very funny. Um, but then he'll like pretend he's German too. So who knows? I don't really know if people think I should be exotic. It's kind of strange. But to be honest, if it's just the appearance thing, let's say, in case that's the question,
Hmm.
I would be, guilty of that too, where I see somebody, let's say they're Asian or whatnot, and I think they're going to have an accent, and they're like, totally fluent, and I'm like, oh, I did it too. So it really depends on what you're used to, but in Hawaii, there's so many people are Asian, so it's even more than here. Like I look local because I'm Asian. I didn't know like that's what local looked like in Hawaii.
Okay, and that was actually her question. I was wrong about the Canadian thing.
Oh.
She said you're an Asian actress, and I wonder if people try to pigeonhole her. So you just
Oh, sometimes I am more exotic, yes. Actually, no. Actually, I did a scene with Bai Ling, and she's exotic. Like, I mean, she's out there. Like, I couldn't even pretend to be Bai Ling. She had to be
yeah.
a fortune teller as well, so, like, she had all this, like, crazy jewelry, and she had these interesting acting choices. I was like, you go. I
Yeah.
am so not that person.
She's got
And then
interesting
when she
fashion
changed out,
choices too.
say it again?
She's got some interesting fashion choices too, as well. Sometimes you see her on the red carpets.
Yeah, and when she changed out of her like her wardrobe into her regular clothes, it was even crazier.
Yeah? Well, we've
Yeah.
got another question here from Elijah. He up on
Hi,
webcam.
Elijah. Yeah, hi, Elijah.
Hi. I was just gonna ask you a question because I watch the show all the time with my family,
Cool.
and every time like sometime we're in the Olympic training facility, when wrestling and all this other stuff. Do you have a lot of fun on the show?
Um, yeah, the show can be fun. I mean, there's a grind. Like if I'm in the HQ and I have to like just give like 2 pages of dialogue, that's not fun, you know? Especially because we don't actually work at a real soundstage, that meaning where it's insulated so that if a truck drives by, it's okay. We actually work in an old newspaper. Are you from Hawaii? I'm not sure.
No.
Oh, okay. We work because I was going to tell you where, like the old newspaper that it used to be. But
I don't know.
so like literally, if it starts raining really hard, we have to stop. If a dog is barking outside, we have to stop. And if I have tons and tons of dialogue, and all of a sudden like a truck starts backing up, or someone's watering um the the flowers, and you can hear the water going
Yeah.
through the pipe, it's like there's a lot of stuff that you're like we end up our patience level has gotten less and less. But are there fun things on the show? Absolutely. I love watching all the action stunt stuff, especially if it's like a huge setup, and then you just get to
Yeah.
watch like everything all come together. Like that's pretty fun, and a lot of people will get their phones out and kind of record it and stuff like that.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
cool.
it's pretty cool. There's a lot of really interesting things like, we have an MMA episode, or we'll be, maybe once in a while we're on the beach, or they kind of have a lot of, they try to draw a lot of from like the Hawaii culture, so that's what kind of makes it interesting. Yeah. But, for the
And
actual
I also
acting stuff, not as much stuff. Yeah? Go ahead.
and I also know you guys promote a lot of these phones too, like Windows phones as
Oh,
well.
yeah. I can't stand that. Is that your phone? I don't know how to use that phone. It
I
drives me
have
crazy.
I have two phones, but
Oh wow.
Yeah. We promote like the MS and then the cars and those tablets, but like drives me crazy because like if you move the tablet a little bit, like the screen will change, and we're like, what the? And like you're trying to do a scene, and I'm like spending 60% of my energy with the screen. Or like they're like, I have to show a photo. I'm like, do you recognize this person? And they give me a phone. I'm like, why do I have a phone? And they're like, oh, because we have no paper, it's all high tech. And I go, but every time they give me a phone, the image jumps around, so I'll like be showing the image to the person crying because their father died and this is a potential victim or something, and I'll show them the phone and it's
yeah,
like some random screen, and I'm like, oh geez, I'm trying to change it in the scene like really quickly so they're not thrown off, and so it's
like
it's a little interesting.
Be like a flower. Is
yeah.
this your father? No. All right, thank you so much, Elijah. We actually have another question here. This one comes from Dillis, again, down in the chat. Dillis wants to know, Grace, how supportive is your family to your career as an actress? The generalization of Asian families is that any creative profession would doom people to a life of instability or even poverty. Just curious to how your parents have dealt with your career choice.
They were like that in the beginning for sure. I mean, my mom tried to tell, but she like left Korea in the 70s, and so she was telling me how it was like practically a step up from prostitution, and it's like, thanks, mom.
Wow.
But she was really worried, but my parents were also very conservative. My sister is a naturopathic doctor, so I'm like, but she's a doctor. She's fine. So just let me do this thing on the side. But for me, um, it was going to be very temporary. I was like, how about you just give me a year? Let me just try for you, because I never did drama. I never did anything. I was like generally really shy, quiet kid, kind of, more silly, like I said. So I didn't really feel like I didn't know if I could do it or not. Like you don't know if you have any talent or if you can cut it, any of that kind of stuff. So that's why I asked for a little bit of time,
How
and
did you get
in
into
that
it?
time, my mom somehow, I don't know, I didn't even think I knew what modeling was. She kind of suggested I go to this modeling school. Maybe I was really awkward. I don't know. So she was like, how about you go to this modeling school? I'll pay for you. So
Nice.
they teach you how to walk. So I did some of that stuff, and I got an agent, and then the lights go off in here. Nobody moves. Anyway, so I, what was it? got an agent, and then from that we did a bunch of commercials, and then it was like, oh, do you want to? Then it was kind of like some background, or like maybe you had one line or something simple like that. So it was just kind of a natural progression, but I didn't realize until maybe about the 10th year of my career why I was doing this. Because some people, like, the guy in my high school was like, maybe they think you do it for fame, or maybe you do it because, I don't know, it could be a lot of reasons. It's not like money, because let's be honest, like, you're pretty poor for a very long time. And so it's kind of like it's like playing the lottery.
So why did you do it? Why do you
So
do
I
it?
think I did it because, I think because certain way that I grew up and how I perceived how I grew up and how, it's going to sound sort of maybe a little silly, but when I was growing up, I had like my own, this is going to get a little deeper, abandonment issues, and kind of felt like I wasn't lovable or felt I wasn't loved. And when I first went from onto like a commercial, I think it was, or like I was doing background, and it was like maybe the last day of the show, and the catering splurges all their money and has a huge thing. It was like it felt like family. And in my household, it was like a conservative, quieter household, not like we're not joking around all the time, hee-hawing. So, but about twice a year, we would go out for dinner, like maybe my mom's birthday or Mother's Day, and twice a year, we would be sitting at one table having a conversation with my family. Like, it wasn't like my parents were talking about work and I'm talking with my sister. It actually felt like a family. And the restaurants we would go to were kind of like, West Coast fare, whatnot, which was the same kind of food that was at, like, when I was working on these commercials or film sets, whatnot. And so I didn't realize that that had kind of planted something in me, which was, it was basically a surrogate family, that's what I was going towards, and I didn't realize. And then 10 years later, I figured it out, and I'm like, and I was like, I think it's for the food. And then it all started clicking together. And a friend, I think an actor friend, saw an interview and like, haha, that's very funny. You did it for the food. What's that about, Grace? Very cute. And but yeah, so it's actually a bit deeper. But I didn't realize what was driving me for so long. But the thing is, my family's all here, and we get along great. But it was this unconscious drive that I had for so long. So finally, I'm like, okay, I'm going to quit putting 110% into my career and start actually hanging out with my family a little bit. So it's been really awesome. Yeah, so I'm quitting now. Now I'm done.
No, say it ain't so. We've got another comment from someone in France who would be probably, oh, I'm sorry, no, Siham here, who would probably be very upset to hear you say something like that. She seemed to be a huge fan of the show. Do you realize that many fans of Hawaii Five-O want to see Steve and Kono as a couple? You guys are called Mikono, just sort of like Kim and Kanye. Kanye, yeah. You gotta change the name. Like
That is
Haylor.
weird. That's
Yeah.
really weird because I don't think we ever have there's no sexual tension on the show. We never allude to that. Never once, I think.
What would you
I think
think
I heard of that. It would be like, hey, do you want to make out with your brother? That would be weird, right? Very weird. No. I think it's just too far along. And I think Kona already has a love interest anyhow. But why not? Let's just do it with everybody. Okay, let's do it. Mikono it is.
You guys heard it here first. Kono's going down. This question comes from Kirsten, sorry. Hello, Grace. Which of your characters, if any, do you feel is closest to the type of woman you would aspire to be?
I would say none of them. I really
Why is
would.
that?
Well, the high school show I did, it's a little young to aspire to that. Battlestar, she was extreme. Like, both the characters were quite conflicted. Well, okay, maybe of any of them. Because in Battlestar, I kind of had two main characters, so maybe I would pick the one whose call sign was Athena, because yeah, the other one, Boomer, was terribly conflicted. And I think with Athena, perhaps she seemed to have this drive within her that she didn't really know, but it seemed to go towards reconciliation and coming, like, two different races coming together, and loyalty and integrity, kind of like principles and whatnot. Yeah, maybe that. But I guess Kono to me, while she kicks butt and seems really smart, she's not very developed to me as a person.
Hmm.
She's just very much like, yes, boss, uh-huh. And, she's part of the team, but because they don't write very much character stuff and we're servicing the crime most of the episode, I feel like her voice is really quiet. And though she kind of has some flashy, fight moves and stuff, she I don't really know if she knows who she is as a person. So in a way, I feel like that really it youths her. It doesn't age her the other way. It kind of she's really young and kind of not very developed character or a deep character. Like she has principles and stuff, but I just feel it's like she has a ways to go. And then with Akani from the Cleaner, I mean, she was a wild card. But she's pretty fun. And actually, the other CBC show I did called The Border, there was Liz Carver. I mean, maybe her. I don't know. I
Okay.
don't know if they embody the person that I want to aspire to be.
Ah, well, you're Grace, and that's who you are, and that's who you should aspire to be. Speaking of
Yeah.
female characters, we've got another one here, another question about roles in women. BSG really broke down a lot of stereotypical images regarding women. What is its legacy, given the types of roles that you've been offered since, and the roles women still find themselves in television and movies? And that question comes from Annie Bauman.
Okay. Hi, Annie. Thank you. I remember while we were shooting Battlestar, it was really eye-opening a lot of the time how often a lot of the main storylines would continually go towards the women, and not just one woman with a bunch of guys, but sometimes two women or three women. And it just kept happening, and I do remember feeling it was different and feeling that although there were a lot of crazy things happening to them too, um, I felt like it did. A lot of people at the time said it strengthened the women. Um, I think I don't know if that's necessarily the case. Like maybe they get stronger if they do survive through it. Sure, but I do think that the show was very bold in placing the women in the exact same position as men, and not just making them the girlfriend or making them, um, the neighbor, the pretty neighbor who's kind of funny and comes over, or just the mother or that type of figure, which was kind of a little more back in the day. And it seems that it's helped blaze the trail along with some other strong shows for strong female characters, and for there to be other series with a female in the leading position, and um, and of different capacities as well. She didn't just have to be sexy and hot and kick butt. Like she could actually just be smart and intelligent and sassy, or just dorky and silly. And I think that was really cool because I remember someone saying initially about the character, "Oh, she's such a cool character. She can do all this," and I thought, well, she can. She in the beginning she was supposed to speak 4 languages, have a black belt in jiu-jitsu, an ex-surfer, oh, and she's in a bikini. And I was like, great, cliche. And of course they want to make it so it's like a cool character, but I thought another female character that can kind of do everything. And they're like, well, what kind of character do you want? And I said, I want to do a character that's just like, you don't even know why she's there. She's kind of like, she doesn't have to be hot. She doesn't have to be like the smartest, like do everything overachiever. And then, and I haven't seen the show, but I think Zoe Deschanel's show out. It
In
seemed
April?
to kind of, yeah, it seemed like, and I've only read about it, so I apologize I haven't seen it, and I'm referencing it. But I thought, oh, all of us, like, I think more than just me, in terms of population, wants to see that and welcomes that, and champions kind of like, okay, what about the regular person,
Yeah.
Because not everyone just goes for, yeah, not all every woman is like the can do everything woman. Like there's a lot of regular people, and like the
Mhm.
girl in the other cubicle is kind of cute, and the other girl at the gym, like she's kind of cool, and all that stuff. It doesn't have to be this like, you know, not everyone has to be like Beyonce or
Yeah.
have to be able to do everything,
Well, I think the
right?
majority of us aren't like Beyonce, so we kind of want to see ourselves reflected on screen, the everyday woman, the normal
Mm.
girl. I just want to remind everyone watching at home right now that if you have a question for Grace Park, you can join us live via webcam or follow along the conversation below. You can also tweet on the hashtag CBC Human Library to join the conversation there. We've got one more question for you, Grace. I know we're running out of time
Sure.
here. This one comes from Elijah Ramos. He wants to ask if there are any movies you will be in, and that's an interesting question. Have you ever considered kind of bridging the gap, going from television to film?
I have, and I think, you know, that is something that would be really amazing. I think because of, and I looked at why I haven't really done that so much, because a lot of actors want to go to film. But if you remember what I said before, if I'm going for a surrogate family, I don't want to jump around from like family to, you kind of want a longer term thing. And I guess that's probably why I've done series work subconsciously. You know, of course, if I started booking features, I would be doing features. But currently, right now, our schedule is pretty full with the show, 10 months out of the year. And then so we have 2 months off. I like to travel. I like to live a little, breathe a little. And then if I were to do a movie, I may come back and just fall over. So currently I'm not slated to. There was an interesting project based out in North Korea, or actually the project was based in North Korea. I think they would have probably not shot it there. That would be a little challenging.
Unlikely.
Yeah, but I do hope to go there one day. So currently I don't have any movies slated, but watch out for my reality show and my perfume.
Your fashion line and your high-profile rapper boyfriend, all that.
Yeah, and my doggy line, you know, for little like paws and that and your best friend.
Nice. Well,
I know, I'm being kind of douchey right now.
no, it's okay. You've lived in LA. You're able to speak to that kind of experience. So, just joking. Thank you so much, Grace, for joining us. Really
Thank
appreciate
you, Lauren.
your time. And on behalf of everyone in the CBC community, it's been great having you here. We're gonna let you go now. So, peace.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks so much for the event. Bye.
Great. That was just Grace Park joining us live from Vancouver. Pleasure to speak with her. Great actress. We're going to be back here in just about 21 minutes with another guest. We're going to have Margaret Trudeau coming up for you on the CBC Human Library live online. If you happen to be in any of